The distress beacon had been silent for 3 days when Sergeant Kara Wynne finally found the wreckage. Her survey shuttle descended through the violet atmosphere of Theran 7, a world classified as hostile fauna, minimal colonization value. The crashed vessel was Xeline, a species known for their fragile constitution and philosophical aversion to violence. What they were doing this far into uncharted space, Kara couldn't guess. What she found in the wreckage's cargo hold made her blood run cold. Bodies, dozens of them. The Xeline crew had been torn apart by something with claws and fury, but it was the sound that made her pause. A mewling, desperate sound coming from a sealed compartment. Kara approached cautiously, rifle raised, and opened the hatch. 3 pairs of eyes stared back at her. They were tiny, no bigger than house cats, covered in slate-gray fur with distinctive ridge patterns along their spines. Their oversized paws suggested they wouldn't stay small for long. The cubs huddled together, trembling, clearly orphaned and starving. Kara recognized them immediately from the xenobiology database. Iron Fang predators, apex hunters native to Theran 7. Adults could grow to the size of Earth's grizzly bears, with metallic dense bone structures and bite forces that could crush starship hull plating. They were listed as avoid at all costs. She should have left them. Protocol demanded it. Instead, she gathered them into her arms. The military tribunal had not been pleased. Sergeant Wynne, you violated 17 regulations by bringing unregistered xenofauna aboard a human vessel, Colonel Petrus had barked, his face red with frustration. These creatures are dangerous. They were 3 weeks old, Kara had replied evenly. They would have died. That's the natural order of things, not on my watch. She'd been reassigned to a remote outpost on the edge of human space, essentially a punishment post. But she'd been allowed to keep the cubs, provided they remained contained and monitored. The brass had underestimated 2 things: how quickly Iron Fangs grew and how deeply they bonded. Kara named them based on their personalities. Ash, the largest, was cautious and protective. Ember had a fierce temperament and was always first into any confrontation. Slate, the smallest, was the clever one, watching and learning with unsettling intelligence. She raised them like a pack, establishing herself as the alpha through patience and respect rather than dominance. She fed them, trained them, and most importantly, she never treated them as pets or weapons. They were her pack, and she was theirs. By the time they were 2 years old, the Iron Fang trio stood nearly 7 feet at the shoulder. Their fur had darkened to charcoal black, and their ridge patterns had hardened into natural armor. They moved with the fluid grace of born killers, but around Kara, they were gentle as lambs. The outpost commander had wanted them removed. They're too dangerous, Wynne. One mistake and someone dies. They won't make a mistake, Kara had promised. I trust them more than I trust most people. She would soon be proven right. The raid came without warning. A pirate fleet, the Crimson Talons, had been terrorizing the sector for months. The outpost was lightly defended, 12 soldiers, outdated weapons, and minimal orbital support. When 6 pirate dropships descended through the atmosphere, everyone knew they were outmatched. All personnel, defensive positions. The commander's voice crackled through the comms. This is not a drill. Kara was in the kennel compound when the first explosions rocked the perimeter. The Iron Fang trio immediately went on alert, their ridge plates flaring, deep growls rumbling from their chests. Easy, Kara murmured, checking her rifle. Stay with me. But as she moved toward the main compound, she saw the situation was already desperate. Pirates were pouring through breached sections of the wall. Human soldiers fell back, outnumbered 3 to 1. The commander's voice came through again, strained. Fall back to the central bunker. Seal the transmission cut off with the sound of weapons fire. Kara made her decision in an instant. She looked at Ash, Ember, and Slate. They looked back, waiting for her signal. In their eyes, she saw complete. Trust, protect the pack, she said simply. The Iron Fang trio exploded into motion. What happened next would become legend in the human military. Ash hit the first group of pirates like a freight train, his massive jaws closing around an alien mercenary's torso, the metallic crunch audible across the compound. Ember flanked left, her claws tearing through armor plating as if it were paper. Slate, true to his nature, moved with calculated precision, targeting the pirates' heavy weapons operators first. Kara moved with them, not commanding but coordinating. They were a unit, a deadly pack working in perfect synchronization. Where the trio created chaos, Kara provided precision fire. Where she was threatened, they intercepted with savage efficiency. The pirates had expected resistance. They had not expected 3 armored predators moving with military tactical awareness. Fall back. Fall back! A pirate captain screamed into his comm. There are monsters in the compound. But there was no falling back. The Iron Fang trio had sealed the breach, and now they were hunting. Pirates who tried to flee found themselves cut off. Those who stood and fought discovered that standard weapons barely slowed the creatures down. Within 20 minutes, the raid was over. The surviving pirates surrendered, throwing down their weapons in terror. The human soldiers emerged from their defensive positions, staring in stunned silence at the carnage and at Sergeant Kara Wynne, standing calmly amid the devastation with 3 massive predators sitting obediently at her side. The military tribunal was very different this time. Sergeant Wynne, Colonel Petrus began, his tone considerably more respectful. Your unconventional methods saved that outpost. Casualties would have been catastrophic without your intervention. The Iron Fang trio did most of the work, sir, Kara replied. Indeed. The colonel leaned forward. Command wants to know if your methods can be replicated. If we can train more of these creatures, no, sir. Kara's voice was firm. They can't be trained like attack dogs. They bonded with me because I raised them, because I earned their trust and loyalty. You can't weaponize that. The colonel studied her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Perhaps that's the most human thing about you, Sergeant. You found something vulnerable and chose compassion over protocol, and that compassion made you stronger, not weaker. He stood, offering a rare smile. Reassignment approved. You and the Iron Fang trio are being transferred to the Frontier Response Unit. Turns out the galaxy needs more people who understand that strength comes in unexpected forms. Kara Wynne walked out of the tribunal with Ash, Ember, and Slate padding beside her. She placed her hand on Ash's massive head, feeling the rumble of contentment from the great beast. She'd found them as helpless cubs, tiny and abandoned. They'd returned that kindness as her fiercest protectors, proving that humanity's greatest strength wasn't technology or firepower. It was the ability to see potential in the vulnerable, to build bonds across impossible divides, and to create family where none existed before. That was humanity, Fuss, yeah.